back to the 2012 Veterans Day Parade in New York City as we look at a truck disguised as a choo-choo train, Rosanna.
I like that. All right, we are honoring our men and women as we celebrate their bravery and sacrifice. Happy Veterans Day. Welcome home. Today we're going to meet a man who didn't serve in the Army or the Navy or the Marines, but he wanted to serve our country in a different way. Steve Nardizzi founded the Wounded Warrior Project, and he's got a special connection to it.
Steve, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's a great day here in New York.
Wounded Warrior Project, you guys are on the forefront of serving veterans who are wounded seriously in combat. First of all, thank you for the organization. It's terrific.
We're blessed to be able to do the work. I meet so many amazing men and women from this generation in these conflicts who are still willing to give back despite their injuries.
Steve, you're a Queens boy.
Absolutely.
Your father and grandfather served in the military?
That's right. Both my father and my uncle, both World War II vets, and they're the ones who got me interested in veterans advocacy.
For those unfamiliar with the Wounded Warrior Project, just what's its mission?
Well, our mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors. So we work with warriors from this generation with everything from helping in their physical rehabilitation, their mental health needs, getting them trained up and educated and employed.
And it's not just the employment, but it's also some athletics as well, right?
Absolutely.
It makes them feel good when they can go out there and ski.
Yeah, when you take men and women who are physically active and then they have a severe injury and a disability, you want to get them as quickly as possible, realizing what they can still do, whether it's skiing, whether it's water skiing, getting out and getting engaged in sports they've done before. Even if they have an amputation or a severe burn, it really boosts their confidence to move forward in life.
Can you tell us some of the, I know the Wounded Warrior Project has really been one of the leaders in the PTS work in TBI. Can you tell us a little bit about how that got started and what the results seem to be?
Sure. You know, when we first started working right at the beginning of these conflicts in 2003, we noticed quickly that the physical injuries were not going to be the most challenging things that these warriors faced. It was really combat stress, depression, the invisible wounds of war. You know, talking about traumatic brain injuries, they're the ones that can create the longest-term struggle. They're the hardest for warriors to want to identify that they have. It's not easy for family members to see, and if you cannot get somebody's mental health in the right state, then their physical health is going to be impacted, their ability to get employed and empowered. And the great news is, though, with the right amount of support, these warriors can push through. They can not only cope and live with a disability like combat stress, but they can actually thrive and move forward in life.
How many wounded warriors are there? Would you say from given the post 9/11 conflicts?
Over 50,000 have been wounded in action with physical disabilities, and it's estimated that there's 300,000 to 600,000 more living with combat stress right now in this country.
Steve, how would this have helped your dad and your uncle? Because you founded this in 2003, right?
Absolutely. You know, when my dad and my uncle came back, there was a great support network for them in their communities. Everyone had served. You know, everyone was impacted in some way by the war. That's not happening today. You know, today less than 1% of the American public serves, and warriors are coming back to communities, are coming back to colleges and employers who don't necessarily understand their service, and that's why it's so important for the whole American public to really understand what's going on with the warriors and to be there to support them. If
somebody wants to help, how can they get in touch with your organization?
They can go on to woundedwarriorproject.org, find out more about the struggles of our vets and their successes, and get involved.
And I will say, Steve started out when the focus was going to be on these physical injuries. And in the last year or so, you have just boomed as far as the number of alumni and the vets that have come to you and say, we can help. You've reached out. They've had an enormous growth. Am I correct on this?
You are, and you've been a great spokesman when it comes to PTSD as well, and so I hope you continue to do that, sir. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Steve Nardizzi from the Wounded Warrior Project. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, let's go over to Elise with a special guest. What's going on?
Hey, Rosanna. I'm here with Paul Rykoff, the Executive Director of Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. Paul, can you tell us about the mission of IAVA?
Sure. IAVA is all about taking care of veterans. We are Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. We're the first and largest nonprofit for those veterans, over 200,000 members around the country, focused on health, education, employment, and community. We got one of the biggest groups in the parade here. The guys with all the black jackets, they're really motivated, high-spirited, and really just happy and honored to be here.
I know you guys always have a great time along the parade route. Tell us about that and the experience in the morning leading up to the actual parade.
You know, we had somebody get here at 1 a.m. We've got vets who come from all over the country who take buses. A guy came from Cleveland, folks came from D.C., and this has really become the greatest parade in the country. So it's become a galvanizing. It's like homecoming for veterans, and it's really inspiring to see people come back to New York, especially after Sandy hit so hard. We're showing everybody New York's back.
Tell us a little bit about Operation Sandy Response that IAVA has been involved in.
Well, veterans are the cavalry. You know, we want to be involved. We're an investment, not a charity, and we're giving back here in the New York area. We've got teams out in the Rockaways, we've got teams out in Staten Island, working with other veterans groups, and in about 20 cities around the country, we've organized Operation Sandy Response. Iraq and Afghanistan veterans from all over America want to help New York, want to help New Jersey, want to help Staten Island. We're going to be doing that for the next couple of months until the job is done.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul and IAVA.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Stay with us. We have some more great interviews coming up, along with a great parade along the parade route.
Hi, I'm Petty Officer Sean Cervenka.
I'm Rose Callis.
Petty Officer Mitch Miller.
Petty Officer McHugh.
Petty Officer 2nd Class Brian Lopes.
Currently stationed Coast Guard Station, Fort Myers Beach.
Wishing all our veterans a happy Veterans Day.
Happy Veterans Day.
Thanks to all veterans for serving our great nation.
Happy Veterans Day.
And thank you for serving our country.
Semper Paratus, America.
While I was on a combat patrol in Baqaba, Iraq, a rocket-propelled grenade took my arm off at the shoulder. I was discharged from the Army, and I've been working with the Wounded Warrior Project since 2007. Warriors don't have to be severely wounded to be with the Wounded Warrior Project. We do have a lot of guys that have post-traumatic stress disorder. Being able to share your story, I guess it kind of helps you wrap your mind around what did happen over there. My name is Norby, and yes, I do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm okay.
I'm Gary Sinise. You may know me as Lieutenant Dan from the movie Forrest Gump or as the bass player in the Lieutenant Dan Band. I've had the honor to meet many of our soldiers and veterans. It's a sad fact that some of our warriors, some of our nation's finest citizens, are wasting their lives through suicide. Suicide is not the answer. It's final. It robs you of your chances for a better life and brings pain and heartbreak to your loved ones. You don't have to go it alone. VA cares about you. VA is reaching out to veterans who are thinking about suicide. So reach back now. Don't wait. Call 1-800-273-TALK and press 1. Our counselors will not share your information with anyone. Thousands of veterans have had the courage to call. How about you? Call 1-800-273-TALK and press 1.
Once a soldier.
A soldier for life.
In 1945, U-Haul was founded by a veteran, and veterans have literally built this company. So working with veterans is not something we need to consider whether to do it or not to do it. It's something we're going to do. The question becomes how to focus it. It's a very competitive economy out there. We're actively seeking to provide a better service for our customer and to attract the kind of people who will provide that service. Many of these young men and women are just that sort of individual. They're very dedicated to serving their community, they're very results-oriented, and they're very team-oriented. Integrating these men and women into our organization is the best thing we can do to ensure that we'll be in business.
Well, I think the most important thing you have done to hire and retain veterans is their ability to preach it and also walk it. With the recruiting side, we do a lot with our military bases. We network a lot of military-focused organizations like Wounded Warrior Project, the VA, different organizations in regards of helping veterans, not just those seeking opportunities, but also veterans who are in need. That's U-Haul's way. It's from the heart, actions taken to support our veterans.
U-Haul has seen people coming out of the Second World War, people coming out of Vietnam, people out of Desert Storm 1, and now people out of Afghanistan and Iraq, and that these people are contributing members of society, and they're the kind of people who have made America great.
Part of their program is to repair bicycles.
Welcome back to the Veterans Day Parade. We congratulate you all for getting involved in supporting our troops and our veterans. We have a very special guest. Perhaps you know him.
I've heard of him. The police commissioner of the city of New York, Raymond Kelly, happens to be a Marine veteran himself, former colonel in the United States Marine Corps. And he sits at my dinner table, or used to. He's my dad. Welcome.
Well, great to be with you. Great to be with the dynamic duo, the reuniting.
Yes,
only
it's
for
nice.
a couple of hours, I guess.
And also, I mean, you were part of it. It was like the Three Musketeers many mornings.
I know.
Captain Buca, of course, we would love to welcome you as well.
Thank you very much.
But anyway, it's great to have you here. Congratulations. We salute you today.
Thank you very much.
Is this the homecoming you never had when you got back from Vietnam?
No, I never really expected it. But I just want to say this, that Captain Buca's remarks this morning were so inspirational. I mean, he's a tremendous speaker, but at the wreath-laying ceremony today, he was particularly good. So,
what did he say that inspired you this morning?
He talked about the return of Vietnam veterans. He spoke about when he came home and how they embraced each other, that welcome that a lot of people expected simply wasn't there, but they sort of took it upon themselves to do it. It was very, very well delivered by Paul.
How long were you in Vietnam?
Almost a year.
Almost a year, combat.
Yeah.
And you stayed in the reserves afterwards?
I did. I stayed in for a total time in the Marine Corps over 30 years. No, associated with the Marine Corps. Yeah. And it was a great experience. I learned an awful lot from my time in the Marine Corps, and I think time in Vietnam in particular, things that stay with you for the rest of your life. It's something I would urge every young person to do.
Can I ask you, what percentage of New York police are veterans?
We have now about 1,500, maybe closer to 2,000 now, but the number is generally speaking going down over time, over the history of the department. You know, without a draft, of course, volunteer service. But we've had over 1,000 members of the department involved in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. This morning, or yes, in this parade, I marched with the new American Legion post in the police department that's been put together and seems to have a lot of vitality. It has over 400 members in it now, so we're proud of it. And I want to thank and congratulate the organizers. They've done a lot of work.
And is it open arms to returning veterans who aspire to go from the Marine Corps or the Army or Navy, whatever force they serve with, and continue serving by wearing the uniform of the New York Police?
You know, we do recruiting. We go to military bases. We've been to Fort Bragg. We've been to Camp Lejeune. We've been to Camp Pendleton. We've been all over the place, and I think it's such a natural fit. We have a requirement that you have 60 college credits to come into the police department. That's waived if you're in the military for 2 years or more. I think that's an important element for people to think about. We would love to have that experience in the organization.
Before we go, we want to get your take on the neighborhoods affected by Hurricane Sandy. We know you've been out and about as recently as last night. What have you seen, and how are we doing?
Well, the problem is enormous. It's tremendous, but there's been major improvements. Certainly, cleanup yesterday, we saw literally thousands of volunteers show up in Staten Island, in Rockaway for the most part. You can see that they've made a difference, but we have tough, gritty people in this city. The people are really committed to coming back, to rebuilding, and everybody is in it together. And that the volunteer work yesterday sort of just reinforced that. We're all on this planet with very similar problems, and you really felt the larger community coming together yesterday.
Commissioner Kelly, thank you for your service. Thank you for keeping us safe on the streets of New York. Appreciate it. And I know you were talking.
Have a lot of help.
And I know you were talking about the opening ceremony with Captain Buca.
Yes.
So we thought we would let our audience share some of the moments that were not on TV, the opening ceremony. Take it away.
I want to really say New York City has pulled it together again amidst a tremendous amount of adversity and a tremendous amount of other things that are as important as Veterans Day.
I guess it's no surprise, from the shores of Staten Island to the beaches of Normandy, our armed services have always been there when we needed them the most, and that's why the Mayor's Office of Veteran Affairs under Commissioner Terrence Holliday remains 100% committed to working on behalf of all of our veterans when they come home.
Also, Christine Quinn, who is Speaker of the New York City Council. Christine.
Ready? Aim. Fire.
Did you know that Department of Veterans Affairs provides physical and mental health care for over 8 million veterans? Hi, I'm Natalie Dell. I may be an Olympic medal winner, but I know that real champions are those who have served this country, and VA knows that too. As a VA employee, I've seen the challenges our veterans face. I'm honored to be part of a team that supports veterans in achieving fuller, richer lives, and I invite you to join us in this rewarding experience. If you're a mental health provider, I urge you to visit vacareers.va.gov.
Here on Sesame Street, they sing,
"Who are the people in your neighborhood?"
Well, it's important to know the people in your neighborhood who are serving in the military.
because they and their families need our support.
You can reach out, offer your time,
Or just ask, how can I help?
let them know that they can count on the people in your neighborhood.
The people that you meet each day.
Yay! Good job. Good job. Way to go.
History's full of wars that are fought for 100 different reasons. I have to believe that it's all worthwhile because our cause is just.
Mayor Koch, being a veteran of World War II, noticed that the war had ended in 1975 and there had been no parades. And he was instrumental in having that parade in 1985. And I think at least 40,000 veterans marched in that. He then set up an area for recognition for our equivalent of the Vietnam Wall down at 55 Water Street. So veterans in New York owe a lot to Ed Koch.
Along Fifth Avenue. He was a sergeant in World War II, right?
A Bronze Star winner, I believe. Ed Koch, how's he doing? Just great. We saw him earlier in the parade.
Yeah, he's looking good. He was with Mayor Dinkins and Congressman Charlie Rangel. And it's great to have him here. How old is he? 87 years old?
Late 80s. I'm not exactly sure. Had a recent hospital stay, but he's out today. All right.
Vietnam veterans, we owe him a lot because he had the first welcome home parade in the nation. So it was tremendous. And one of the things I reminded everybody this morning was he was sitting there. He stepped out of the shadows for Vietnam veterans. And instead of being a mayor and walking with the city council, he walked to the front of the parade, found the wheelchair-laden George Lang, a Medal of Honor recipient from New York City, and said, "You may mind if I push you?"
Wow.
And he pushed him all the way up the Brooklyn Bridge and down into the canyons. And George said, "My wife, my first, having the mayor push my wheelchair, that's the greatest thrill I ever had." And the mayor, after it was over, shook hands with him, shook hands with the other vets, and kind of disappeared. And I thought, what a wonderful thing he did. He gave credibility of assistance as opposed to taking the credit for being the mayor at the time. He just pushed one man in a wheelchair.
Did you walk in that ticker tape parade?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
And it's really exciting, right?
Oh, it was the largest ticker tape parade they've ever had. And one of the men interviewing me, last time I saw him, Richard Valeriani, was from NBC News, excuse me, but last time I saw him was in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
And back then, the ticker tape was real ticker tape.
It was, too. They were throwing it out.
Do you remember the scaffolding collapse during the
Yes.
parade? I was standing next to it for another station.
Oh, my.
And we wound up covering a lot of the scaffolding because there were people who got hurt that day.
Well, on that note, Rosanna, we want to point out that it's not only Veterans Day in New York City, Veterans Week. There are all sorts of events taking place throughout the city honoring our veterans. Please take a look at this.
Plus, helping veterans is a year-round obligation, and we salute you.
The New Yorker Hotel played host to the Be a Hero, Hire a Hero Veterans Career Expo. More than a job fair, this event was a hiring initiative dedicated to placing veterans in career opportunities. Also at the New Yorker was a Veterans Affairs seminar and workshops. You've earned it. An orientation session to today's VA for veterans and their family members. The Red, White, and Blue Weekend was an initiative that highlighted discounts and specials available to veterans and military members on Veterans Day. And Reflections Festival of the Arts was a magnificent exhibit of veteran and military art, all displaying pride of service, past and present.
I was in South Korea, I was in Germany, I was in Iraq. I think the hardest transition as you get further in the military is you know it's going to end one day. And that's why I'm doing the job I'm doing now at Chase, helping them hire veterans through the 100,000 Jobs mission. Because Chase understands if you want an organization that's going to grow, that has a basis in ethics, and get the engine running again in America, why wouldn't you want to hire the veteran?
Chase is proud to help 100,000 veterans find jobs at home.
The Institute for Veterans and Military Families at Syracuse University is dedicated to leveraging the resources of higher education in support of America's veterans and their families. Through our focus on research, employment, and educational programming, we develop tools to assist policy leaders, employers, and veterans themselves. Thousands of veterans have directly benefited from our work, and we're just getting started. Visit vets.syr.edu to learn more about our efforts and how you can get involved.
On behalf of you, our organization, our chain of command, from one veteran to the other, we thank you for your service to our nation. We thank you for the many sacrifices you have done and the freedom that we so humbly share today. Again, on behalf of our organization, thank you for your service. You all, saluting those who serve.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
I've known Fang going on about 15 years now, and one of the things I admire most about him is his ability to communicate with the broad spectrum of veterans, from World War II to the current day veterans. His ability to listen to them, listen to their problems, and help them find solutions to those problems.
Their integration back into society, from being soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. It's not an easy transition, but with Fang's leadership, the American Legion is helping our veterans being able to do that now.
Lots of people came to support our troops today. Beautiful turnout. They're saying over 600,000 participants. 600,000 people viewing the parade, 20,000 participants.
Wonderful. If you hear the music in the background, and maybe our camera will show them, here we have the New York City Lesbian and Gay Big Apple Corps Marching Band. And, you know, perhaps 10 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe even more recently than that, You wouldn't see this band probably in the Veterans Day Parade.
No, it'd be protest.
There would be this would be a huge source of controversy, but Don't Ask, Don't Tell was abolished, and now whatever your sexual orientation, you are welcome in the United States military.
Frankly, it's about time. The military has always led the way in these kinds of issues, from race down to gender, and sexual. And I just think it's wonderful that they did it, and there have been no repercussions. All the catastrophic predictions for people who opposed it, it's just gone on because, as they say, I'm not interested in who you're in love with and what sex they may be of. I just want to make sure you got my back. And that has nothing to do with sexual preference.
There really hasn't been any bumps in the road. But the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy was, I think, in the view of a lot of folks in the military, a fair transition policy. Does that make sense?
I think so. It allowed you to grow up with the fact. You know, I say grow up, it didn't matter how old you are, but become accustomed to it with the fact that there were gay members serving with you.
Rosanna, did you play an instrument when you were a kid?
I played the guitar and the piano.
Oh, so you didn't march in a parade and hold an instrument at the same time?
No. Can you march with the piano?
Woody Allen did it, I think, once.
I guess the what do you call it?
The cymbals.
The cymbals would have been good.
Didn't Jack Nicholson play a piano on the back of a truck in the 5 Easy Pieces movie years ago? Now, I dated myself, but that's all right.
The one who comes to mind is Woody Allen playing the cello in I think, Bananas or one of those movies. In a parade, he would put the chair down, put the stand down, play for a little bit. The tuba would bump into him, and he'd have to readjust.
All right, you know, the History Channel has been doing some wonderful, wonderful stories. And right now, we should take a look as America says thanks to our troops.
Major Howard Feldmeyer, United States Marine Corps.
John Jones, 4th Infantry Division.
Corporal Jose Luis Montes, U.S. Army. My husband, my uncle,
my father-in-law,
my older brother,
my wife,
my son.
It truly is never too late to say thank you, and every single time you do it, it really makes a difference.
My aunt, Staff Sergeant, New York National Guard. Thank you.
I want to thank my husband and my father for making the ultimate sacrifice.
I can't express how proud I am of my son.
My Uncle Gil is definitely a very proud soldier. I wouldn't be where I am today without people like him.
This is my father serving in Vietnam. Everything that this country stands for, I saw in him as he went through his service. And it made me want to serve all that much more.
When I look at these medals, they send cold chills through my body because I look at them and I realize my son's not here. I just miss you so much, but I love you, and I'm so, so proud of you. Thank you. Mama loves you.
I think our men and women make history with their sacrifice. Every single day, they're working towards sculpting a future that we can be proud of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Papa.
All right, folks. Well, we're out here at the Veterans Day Parade, and we have some more special guests. We have Dr. Libby O'Connell. She's the chief historian with the History Channel. And what better partner to have out here on Veterans Day? Now, you can tell us a little bit about Veterans Day, because a lot of folks don't really understand, how this all came about.
A lot of people today think it's a time for a coat sale. They're not sure exactly why we're saluting the vets. Every November, the 11th month, on the 11th day, is Veterans Day. It's one of our last civic holidays that stays on the same day year after year. No matter what. It's because that's when peace was declared in World War I. It was the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour. So at 11 a.m., that's when peace was declared. It was called Armistice Day.
Okay.
And we called it Armistice Day, and it was a salute to the World War I veterans. Later, it became inclusive to include all of our veterans from all of our wars.
Wow, I really did just learn a whole lot there. So that's what how it all came about, and now we're celebrating our vets out here today.
That's right, from our greatest generation to the latest generation, and we've seen World War II vets come by, as well as men and women who are just home from the Middle East.
And what's it like to be with the History Channel and have an involvement with the Veterans Day Parade here? I mean, it makes sense, right?
It's always an honor. We're so proud to be part of this. We support the different groups that are involved, but it's also part of our campaign to link veterans all over the country with their schools and communities and say welcome home to the newly returned and say thank you to the vets who have been out of service for a while. We link kids to veterans as part of a history class, really.
That's what it's all about.
It's really wonderful.
Thank you very much. Libby O'Connell, Chief Historian of the History Channel. Happy Veterans Day to you.
Happy Veterans Day,
Enjoy
Mike.
the day.
Thank you.
All right, and we'll be right back.
From Iraq and Afghanistan, our brave warriors are coming home, wounded. Some with wounds you can see, some with wounds you can't see. Wounded Warrior Project was created to support our men and women coming off the battlefield. Please help carry these warriors the rest of the way home. Get involved at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Antonio Quinn, Deputy Warden, U.S. Navy. Captain Garcia, United States Army.
Captain Harris, United States Marine Corps veteran.
Captain Seward, United States Army Reserves.
Officer Eger, Correctional Officer Murphy.
Officer James Ravenel, United States Army, Purple Heart and Bronze Star recipient.
I serve my country.
Now I serve my city.
Now I'm proud to be New York's boldest.
City sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air, there's a feeling of Christmas. Silver bells.
I'm Chuck Scarborough. Right now, thousands of people in the tri-state area need warm coats. Please give your used coats to the New York Cares Coat Drive.
In the city.
Greetings from JP Morgan Chase Chicago. As a proud leader in the 100,000 Jobs mission, we would like to salute and thank the men and women who have served our country in the military.
Thank you, Higher
Welcome back as we look at this is the junior ROTC from Bethel High School. And
nice.
This is pre-college. And Paul, Rosanna, is there any official tie? Is this part of a recruitment program? How does this work?
Not a recruitment program. It's part of a training and education program. The junior ROTCs in all the major cities, for example, Oakland, when Jerry Brown was the mayor there, that became his #1 performing high school because it provided the structure that the kids weren't getting at home in that environment. Same thing in Chicago. In fact, I was briefed by a junior ROTC group in Chicago, and when it was over, I said to one of the colonels in the room who was there watching, I said, have them teach the Pentagon how to brief. They went and did an absolutely perfect job, disciplined, and the leader was a Latino young girl. And she said, this gave me my outlet, gave me some place to go where I could get disciplined and focus on my studies. And she's gone on to college. So junior ROTC, very important element here in New York and all the major urban centers.
Good to know. All right, let's go to Elise, who's got a very special guest. Hi, Elise.
I have Vivian Worsell, and she is a Gold Star wife. Vivian, thank you for being with us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Yes, my husband, Lieutenant Colonel Rich Worsell, United States Marine Corps, returned from his second tour of duty in Iraq and died suddenly 1 week later at Camp Lejeune. And shortly after that, I joined Gold Star Wives, and it's a wonderful organization. It started in 1945 that's brought us together, and today I'm here with 7 widows, post 9/11 military widows, and 7 of their children, and we're here for a bonding moment. And today gives us an opportunity to honor our deceased husbands. And every day is Veterans Day for us, but to have an opportunity to share with the world that we loved and honor our military spouses. It's just wonderful to be here.
And I see that you're doing that with your pin. Can you tell us about this pin you mentioned earlier?
Wedding night. We had a typical military Marine wedding, and this was after the wedding, and it was actually our first family photo taken, and I cherish it always.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us. It's a beautiful pin and having us here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come back with us in just a few minutes.
Happy Veterans Day to you. Thank you for your service.
Is that good? Perfect.
I would like to give a special and heartfelt thanks to the men and women who serve in our armed forces in America and all over the world, and a special thanks and a sense of empathy and compassion for your families who also sacrifice so much.
Hey, it's Clive Owen here. I just want to say, great what you're doing. Thank you.
I've got a lot of respect for all you guys, all you women, what you're doing, serving our country. It's deeply appreciated and never taken for granted. Thank you. Happy Veterans Day to everybody.
Life in the military is one of service and sacrifice. And for some, that sacrifice is more than many of us can imagine. Please join with the American Legion in recognizing and supporting our wounded warriors and their families. Let's not allow them to be forgotten and left to fend for themselves. They deserve more. Sometimes just thank you isn't enough. Go to legion.org/honor veterans to find out how you can help.
America's Navy, a global force for good.
I'm Petty Officer 2nd Class Yvonne Ontiveros Lopez.
And I'm Petty Officer 3rd Class Richard Brendan.
And I'm Lieutenant Junior Grade Nicole Badario. We're all serving on board U.S. Coast Guard Cutter Berthoff in the Arctic. We wanted to say thank you to the veterans and all the men and women serving overseas, and
Happy Veterans Day!